everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Maura and I'm a physical therapist and certified yoga teacher. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the differences between Warrior 1, Warrior 2, and Warrior 3, as well as some form tips and variations that you can try in your practice to make each of these different poses more comfortable in your body. I'll have some other helpful resources linked down below in the description box, including a link where you can grab my free Yoga Poses Guide for Beginners. So let's get started. All three of these poses are standing poses, but they all have very different elements. So we'll start with Warrior 1. And in Warrior 1, we are facing the front of the mat. And so I'm gonna shift the weight into my left foot and I'm gonna step back with my right foot. And I'm gonna turn the toes out approximately 45 degrees, but we'll come back to that in a little bit. So on the front leg, you want the knee to be aligned about over the ankle. And one of the most important things is that you don't want the knee to start tracking inward or drifting outward, because this can really affect the alignment and place a lot of strain on the tissues around the knee. So if you aim to try and keep the knee over the ankle, you will have a much better alignment in the front leg and decrease your risk for injury. So my back leg here is turned out approximately 45 degrees, but that can really depend on what's comfortable for you. And so because it's turned out, this leg is in external rotation because my toes are pointing away. Now this leg is in neutral because my toes are pointing forward and my knee is pointing forward. Now the tricky part in Warrior 1 is that you then turn the pelvis toward the front of the mat. And with this back leg rotated out, now we've got this internal rotation of the pelvis on an externally rotated leg. So we've got this ringing motion that's happening in the leg. Now this might feel good for you. For me, my Warrior 1, I do like that energy, that feeling going up my leg. But if you have knee issues, this can really tweak the knee. So you might need to use some variations here to make it comfortable. One of the things you can do is to just turn the shoulders toward the front of the mat and not really bring the pelvis with you. You can also decrease the turnout in the leg. You can even come up to a high lunge where both toes are pointing forward, both hips are in neutral if you don't like Warrior 1 at all. And then you can also play around with the distance, the length between the legs. You can do a shorter Warrior 1, and that might change the way that the pose feels for you. And you can also play around with the width in between your feet, so making the feet wider in your base of support can also help to change the way the pose feels for you. So all of those things you can go ahead and play around with. Now, as far as the rest of the body here in Warrior 1, you want to make sure that you're not kind of overarching the low back. Really engage those abdominals. A phrase you might hear is knit the ribs down. So have an awareness of the front of the body. Tucking the tailbone is another cue that you might hear, but you want to be sure not to over tuck either. So a happy medium is where you want your personal alignment to fall. And then as far as arms, it's common to have the arms overhead. You might also see cactus arm options. If you've got some shoulder issues, you can even keep the arms down or bring them to your heart center. There's a lot of ways that you can really make this pose work for you. Now in Warrior 2, this one looks a bit different. So I'm gonna again start at the front of my mat, both feet are facing forward, and I'm gonna take my right leg and I'm gonna step it back and I'm gonna open the toes out almost parallel with the short edge of the mat, but again, that also is going to depend on your anatomy and alignment that feels good for you. Now the front leg is still going to be pointing towards the front of the mat. And in Warrior 2, it's a lot easier to lose it and let that knee drift inward or outward. So again, you really want to make sure that that knee is over the ankle. And then in the back leg, you can adjust the turnout of the foot depending on what's comfortable for your hips, your low back, your SI joint. All of those things matter. Pressing into all four corners of both feet so that we're engaging all the muscles. Then again, with the hips, you don't want to extend and dump everything into your low back. You want to keep a slight tuck, just a little bit of awareness in the core and in the low back. Moving up to your arms, bringing the arms to about shoulder height, gazing over the middle finger or the index finger, whatever's really in your line of sight there. And this may not be comfortable for your shoulders, so you can always keep the arms down if you're having any shoulder pain. Now in Warrior 3, we've got a balance component happening here. And so again, we're facing the front of the mat, and in Warrior 3, we're going back into a neutral hip orientation. So I'll shift the weight into my right foot, that will be my standing leg, and then I'm gonna flex the back foot and really engage the glutes and the muscles in the back, pulling the navel in and gazing at a point that's not moving so that I have something to fix my balance on. You can keep your hands at heart center and make sure you have a little bit of bend in the front knee to engage all of your muscles. Now, if this is where it feels good for you, you can go ahead and stay here. If you'd like to come all the way down and kind of make one long line between your head and your back heel, that's an option. Just remember not to turn out on that hip. You want to try and keep the hips level here, which is trickier than it sounds. Another variation is if you have a chair here, you can go ahead and use that for balance, but you also get to push into it. And so you get a different activation of the muscles in the upper body. A wall is another great prop to use for Warrior 3. Really allows you to press into the wall and just get a different feeling. See what works for you. Some arm variations for Warrior 3. You can go ahead and reach the arms overhead, really engaging more of the upper back. You can keep the hands at heart center. You can sweep the arms behind you, reaching toward the back of the mat. It's really up to you. Now you've seen a lot of different variations for Warrior 1, Warrior 2, and Warrior 3. I hope there's something in there that helps you with your practice, making these poses more comfortable for your body. Alignment is a tricky term that's thrown around. There can be lots of different alignments that are technically correct. Alignment is very dependent on your personal anatomy and what feels good for your body, any injuries or other issues that you've got going on. So always listen to your body and take modifications and variations to make poses feel good for you. Be sure and leave a comment down below and let me know which of these variations are your favorite. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more yoga, health, fitness, and injury prevention content. If you're new to yoga, definitely check out my playlist on yoga pose tutorials where there's lots more tips and tricks like this. See you next time.